And hello once more, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to episode 22 of the Druids Dozen. My name's John, aka the Rock Druid, and basically I'm a bit of a DJ, mainly on the radio at the moment, because lockdown's taken away all the live stuff. But yeah, I'm a rock DJ. I'll do a couple of shows. There's the Sunday Rock Show on BCFM radio, 93.2 FM in the Bristol, UK area. And the Rock Druid Show on astroradio.earth, one of the world's leading science and music-based specialist stations. That's what worldwide listenership. So some of you may know me, others don't. But yeah, basically these little vlogs are just me raiding my substantial record collection, dragging out some albums, a dozen, waving in front of the camera, and just chatting about them for a little while. So, without further ado, let's pass straight in with today's first offering. And it's a bit of heavy krautrock. Yeah, there's the front. This is, of course, Lonesome Crow, the Scorpions' 1972 debut album. There's the back. And this is the Metal Masters reissue. There's nothing on the inner sleeve here. Now, Scorpion's first album had a bit of a life of its own. It was when it first came out across Europe. It had different titles in different territories. I believe in Sweden they called it Action, and the original American release was just called Scorpions. And you know, over the years, it's had several different album covers. This is a variation on the original. It's also had a Rodney Matthews album cover as well, and it's the only album to feature in toto Michael Schenker along with his brother Rudy. Although Michael Schenker has contributed sort of odd tracks to other Scorpions albums in the future, but this is the only one that he actually recorded as a full-time member of the band. It's an interesting kind of concept. These guys were very young at the time. Michael Schenker was 16, Rudy was only about 18 or 19, the rest of them were only in their late teens, early 20s. And they had already had recorded a single for German release, which was Action, and then I think it either never got released or didn't chart, one of the two. But then came out doing their first album, and this was the result. Pretty good album, although this one, along with the follow-up, Fly to the Rainbow, isn't really typical of what the Scorpions were to become, you know, throughout the 70s and through the 80s and beyond. Yeah, this album, yes, it's got some of the hard rock stuff on here, but overall, this album, if I was going to file this into any particular pigeonhole, I'll call this firmly krautrock. This is, you know, this album belongs in the racks along with bands like Fluffy and Eloy. It's just it's kind of got some really good psychedelic moments. Yeah, you got things like I'm Going Mad, I say the aforementioned Action, Inheritance, which are kind of, you know, the more up-tempo rocky stuff. But then you've got In Search of the Peace of Mind, which is quite a little trippy number. And then you got the title track, 13.5 minutes of Lonesome Crow itself. A fantastic, psychedelic, improvised, well, it seems improvised. If they penned it before recording, they did a bloody good job on getting a kind of naturalistic off the bat feel. It's just a classic track that drifts and floats, and great stuff indeed. Yeah, loads of you that kind of know the Scorpions and haven't heard this album, I suggest you check it out, because it is a rather interesting insight into where these guys came from. So yeah, Scorpions, Lonesome Crow. It's a bit of a corker. Okay, next up we shall reach for a CD, and we'll have this one. In the Name of Metal by Swedish metalheads, Bloodbound. And you can see Signed by Patrick Jameson. Yeah, I'm not sure I haven't got my glasses on. I'll probably need my glasses because the Scorpions, I know most of the stuff about that. This one, I'm going to have to do some reading. Yeah, Bloodbound were a band I didn't know anything about until I went to see Sabaton a few years ago. Also on the bill, the fantastic Owlstorm, who were the main reason I was at the gig, because I was interviewing Chris Post and Owlstorm at the time. But then the opening band came on, and it was this lot. And these guys were so much fun, it was unreal. The lead singer, say Patrick Jameson, who's that bloke there, face painted up like a Man United fan, devil's horns on the lot. Oh yeah, I was going to show you the... Yeah, so there's the front. There's the complete fold out. There's the inner sleeve. Anything behind the disc? Yeah, just a Bloodbound logo. So this is in the Name of Metal album. I'll take these out a second as well. Come on, business card. Yeah, fantastic artwork on this. I just love it. It's... Who did the artwork? Does it say? Oh, called Mark Wilkinson, the guy that's famous for doing all the Marillion and some of the Iron Maiden stuff. Little business card. AFM Records catalogue, and here we've got say band pics in the booklet, lyrics, etc. Standard stuff. Now Bloodbound are a band that are just fun. These guys live for fun. I said after the gig, I was out having a fag and I bumped into Patrick Johansson, the vocalist, and we had a little chat, and he was saying that Bloodbound are just a fun band to be in. They project that on stage, and this album, of which they got several. I've got a couple since, but this was the one I actually brought at the gig. Kind of sums up the funness. The opening cut in The Name of Metal is a complete and utter air punchy, lighter waving, jump around like a bastard anthem. Other classics on here: Metalheads Unite, which is another one of their anthems, I'm Evil, The Monster Mind, The Book of the Dead, Bound in Blood, the title cut. Every single one's a bit of a stormer. Every single one is a groovy piece of fantasticism, and yeah, and this is just great. I've got a couple of other albums since I got this, and believe me, these guys can keep it up. So anyway, just if you haven't heard Bloodbound, please do check them out. I would recommend this because it's my favourite album, but I haven't heard them all, so I've heard a few but not them all. So yeah, find some Bloodbound, download it, have a laugh, have a listen, enjoy yourselves. I say Bloodbound, In the Name of Metal, 2012, great stuff. Okay, the next, I normally do these at random. Now, the first one I'm going to pull out now did come out at random. That one I'm going to do after it, kind of, I just found when I was searching my racks, and I thought that will make a good comparison. We're going to start off with this. This is Marillion's Season's End from 1989, the first of the post-Fish albums. There's the front. There is the back. And there's the gatefold across there. And also in here, just for the record, I have the merch sheet for the Thieving Magpie Double Live album, which has somehow ended up in the wrong record sleeve. I'm going to put it back in the right one as soon as I finish filming. Now, 1987, Marillion released the what I think is the flawed gem album that is Clutching at Straws. Saw him on the tour, and there was body language on stage that made me and a couple of mates I went to the gig with thinking, there's something not right here. You know, there was not much communication between Fish and the rest of the band. Fish went for a walk around, and so I went to the front row at Wembley Arena, and I'm right in front of Steve Rothery, and he looks at me, he rolls his eyes because Fish has disappeared at the back with all the crowd clattered around him. My mate goes, wanker, and Pete Travis walks over and goes, yes. And it wasn't a kind of joking yes, it was a kind of, oh my God, we're getting sick of this yes. So we weren't surprised when less than a year later Marillion fell apart, or rather Fish quit. We were surprised when Marillion brought in Europeans vocalist Steve Hogarth to replace him. And so this album came out in 1998. Got the album, went to see the tour. As a kind of transition between the Fish era and the Hogarth era, this album's makes it a smooth one. The music was the stuff written for Fish, and there are demo recordings available on as bonus cuts, and that with what would have been the this album with sort of Fish's lyrics over some of this music. The lyrics on this were done by, I'm trying to think of the guy's name. It wasn't Hogarth. Hogarth didn't write the lyrics for this. John Helmer, who should know who he's from, but I don't, off the top of my head, did the lyrics because they wanted to get on and record it, and Hogarth came in. This also marks my kind of dislike of, not dislike, but my falling out of love with Marillion. And it is down to Steve Hogarth. Now, I'm not knocking the bloke personally. Please don't think this is a personal attack on Steve Hogarth. It's not. I just can't get on with his vocals. I find him a bit nasal and a bit of a simperer. You know, Fish, you had the balls and the guts. Steve Hogarth, is a bit of a... he whinges, put it that way, musically. It's not all that prevalent on this album, thank God, which makes this my favourite Hogarth era album by a long shot. Although I quite like Brave and Fear, their most recent one, Fuck Everything and Run, was a really good record as well. Apologise if you hear wind noises in the back. I've got a bus window in the inside of the room there, letting a bit of draft in. I hope it's not picking up too much. Yeah, so overall, this is a pretty interesting album. The opening cut, King of Sunset Town, about the Tiananmen Square massacre, it's pretty cool. Then you got the first Simperer, Easter, an attempt at a kind of quasi-Celtic post-Gary Moore arm waver. Doesn't quite hit the spot as me. The Uninvited Guest, which is Marillion's little kind of poke at Fish. Holloway Got Hooks in You is pretty good, although the heavy meaty metal remix on the 12-inch single was a better cut. And The Space, which is quite a nice little trippy number, almost kind of psychedelic. So, not a bad album, not a classic in my opinion. I don't think anything that Marillion have done with Hogarth can be truly called classic, but that's just my personal taste. Feel free to disagree and tell me why I'm wrong in the comments. But overall, this is an album I can take or leave. Yeah, I could go into all the symbolism of the drowning jester on the cover and all this sort of thing, but yeah, not going to. You know, there's Marillion fans out there that can deconstruct this album far better than me. So, yeah, Marillion Season's End, 1989. It's okay. Which leads me to an album that came out around about the same time. Came out a few months later. That was late 1989. This was early 1990. Fish, A Vigil in the Wilderness of Mirrors. This is the other half of what Season's End could have been. This is the lyrics that should have ended up on Season's End on a Fish solo album. And overall, again, of the post-Marillion stuff and Fish, this is the best album he's done, in my opinion. You see, I've always looked upon Marillion as being a band whose whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And, you know, whereas on Season's End over there you've got the music but you haven't got the vocal performance or the lyrics, here you've got the vocal performance and the music seems to be a bit lacking, not quite got the fire. I'm trying to think who plays on this. Yeah, it's surprising. You've got people like Mark Bazzacki, Mickey Simmons on guitar. He's played with Mike Oldfield. You know, but he is not he's not Steve Rothery. Mark Bazzacki, fantastic drummer, but he's not Ian Mosley for kind of getting those kind of interplay with the non-Pete Travis on here. You know, it's a patchy album. Some of the songs are great. Yeah, let's have a, yeah. There's the back. There's the front. There's the disc. Yeah, better look at the booklet there. And you have lyrics. Again, Mark Wilkinson album artwork. Lyrics and that, but yeah, you've got yeah, overall it's quite good. You've got a cut on here called The Company, which is Fish's response to the uninvited guest on the on Season's End, where basically, if you read between the lines, he's called him Marillion a bunch of money-grabbing bastards. You know, I'm going to keep out of that argument. You know, I've met members of Marillion, I've met Fish a couple of times. He's a nice guy. You know, I met Steve Rothery, he's a nice guy. I'm not going to get caught in the middle of it. But overall, it's a good album. Highlights, Cliche, View from a Hill, Family Business, the title cut itself, The Vigil. I can take or leave some of the other cuts like Voyeur and Big Wedge. But overall, it's more plus than negative. As I sadly, just like Marillion, in my opinion, subsequent releases were each a little bit less than the other one. But unlike Marillion, I don't think Fish has bounced back. You know, a shame, I say, because the guy's got a lot of talent, and but I don't know, he don't do it for me anymore. Shame. But this album still does. Fish, A Vigil in the Wilderness of Mirrors. Okay, moving on to a bit of vinyl. And we got a bit of a favourite of mine here. Future Shock by Gillan. 1981, I believe, thereabouts. '81, thought it was. Now this is a rather battered and much cherished original vinyl version. You got the front there, you got the back, and I'll take this through page by page. You've got these inner sleeve, which is You got pictures of people like old Ian Gillan there, and of course the fantastic Bernie Tormé, the guitarist, interspersed with some fantastic of these artworks. That one's Angus McKee there, all of which are sort of like great sort of like sci-fi artists that, you know, book covers, etc. The obligatory standard gatefold with some witty comments and some photographs, etc. Obligatory lyric sheet. Colin Towns and Big John McCoy. The fantastic Nick Underwood, and some more pictures and humorous quotes. And yeah, an album that I heard around a mate's house in 1981 when it came out, and I went out and brought my own copy a week or two later, having done the slightly naughty thing of grabbing a C90. When we used to visit mates back in the day, we used to carry a couple of C90s. If having a record session, I always used to carry a couple of C90s on us in case they played an album that you said, all right, can we hear that again, and can I have a copy of it? Yeah, and it wasn't, okay, I know they used to say home tape is killing music, but you know, 90% of the albums that I taped, I ended up buying on vinyl or later on CD or both, you know, so yeah, I don't feel guilty about doing that. I was a skint student at the time. But anyway, this album, fantastic record, absolutely storming. Probably my favourite of the Gillan albums. You know, he did some pretty damn good ones in the early 80s. This one, probably the one that I come back to time and time again. From the opening title cut, with its fantastic keyboard-driven riff, through to the closing, For Your Dreams, which is a nice sort of like spine-tingling atmospheric slow number. Every track's a bit of a classic. Highlights include the fantastically almost erotic If I Sang Softly, the good fun Sacre Bleu, which is sort of, almost got like a punk feel to it. Yeah, New Orleans, the old, which was the big hit single off this, which was, you know, the old kind of blues rock number. Night Ride Out of Phoenix, that's all the classic. Actually, come think of it, there's a kind of punk vibe that runs through this. There's a kind of almost like post-punk rawness. That was quite unusual in heavy rock at the time, but makes it quite a enjoyable and listenable experience. Yeah, not much else to say. The performances are great. I especially love some of Bernie Tormé. Always has been a bit of a favourite guitarist of mine. Some of his performances on here are mind-blowing. Ian Gillan, his vocals himself. It's Ian Gillan, what do you expect? Big John McCoy, fantastically rock-solid, reliable bass player with a fantastic beard. And overall, just a great album. So, from 1981, Future Shock by Gillan. Highly, highly recommended. Okay. I mentioned that had a bit of a punk feel, so let's go completely punk. There we go. This is the Punk for Life by Ambition Demolition. Now, this yeah, there's just the disc. It's only a cardboard sleeve. There was a limited edition kind of, I think it was a not jewel case digipack of this, but that's the one I've got. a band out of Cheltenham, 3-piece, kind of very much punk of the old school. This is music to pogo to extraordinaire. 6 cuts on here. Every single one's a bit of a sort of like pogo fueled classic. Favourite highlights? Ripped Off's pretty good. Title cut Punk for Life. But overall, the standard's pretty high. Recording quality on this, maybe a little bit. Could do with a kind of, in my opinion, a bit of a remix and a bit of a remaster. But overall, you know, I've got the opinion when it comes to punk, you know, things like recording quality, etc., is really a secondary consideration, because punk should be about the DIY attitude and, you know, getting things off your chest, etc. And this does this perfectly. Yeah, picked this up when I think it was Alien Stashed In. We ended up on the same bill as Lee's at the Carve in Bristol a few years ago. Overall, a nice bunch of lads, did a great show, and they've also got a couple of full-length albums out as well, which I've got on digital, not on physical copy. So yeah, good band to check out. They're on Bandcamp, they're on Facebook. I say this is their 2017 sort of like mini album. There's a couple of others as well, but give them a check out if you like a bit of punk. You can't go wrong with a bit of Ambition Demolition. Good stuff. And we'll have this one next. This is Shinola by the Sons of Liberty. There's the front. There's the back. And if you pull this out, it's got the inner card on here. There's some little lyric credit and that, etc. And flip it over at the back there, you've got that lot, album credits and thanks lists, etc. Now, Sons of Liberty, they're based mainly in Somerset, although they've got members from all over the southwest, including Bristol, and they've even got someone from over from Welsh Wales in the band. They're a 5-piece outfit, and well, these guys are more Lynyrd. These guys got out Lynyrd Skynyrd. These guys are just a great band. These are, if you like your southern boogie, these are southwestern boogie. These are excellent. If you like, yeah, so like, I'll put it this way: they do Molly Hatchett's "Flirting with Disaster" as an encore from time to time. I've had them on the radio show, and we were, you know, I was always, when I'm interviewing bands, I always ask them to bring in some tracks that influence them. These guys showed up with Blackfoot and Doc Holliday albums. Yeah, these guys walk it as they talk it. These guys are absolutely the real deal, apart from they're not coming from the southeast of the States. There's 5 cuts on here. They've got a couple of EPs out. This is their debut EP. Brotherhood, Fool's Gold, Hell Yeah, which is their kind of big anthem. The Brave, which is a song about Indian warriors and that. Fantastic, spine-tingling track in places. Looking for a Good Time, up-tempo rock and roller. The Brotherhood, which is again great rocking, stand together because we are rockers, we are one kind of thing. There's not a duff moment on it. Like I said, I've got to know these guys personally over the last couple of years, and they're lovely blokes. They are really, really first-rate talented musicians. I got another EP out of this, and there was talk of a full-length album, but I'm not sure what ever happened to that. But I know all this kind of you know, lockdown and coronavirus has thrown a lot of bands' schedules, you know, to the pits kind of thing. But overall, I know they're still going, and when we come out and live music happens again, do yourself a favour, go check them out. They're a hard-working band as well. They're always on the road, always playing over the UK. So if you're in the UK, go check them out. This is, say, Sons of Liberty, and this is Shinola from, I think, 2017. I may be wrong. The guys will correct me if I am. But overall, brilliant EP. Check this out, check their other stuff out, go see them live. That's all I can say. Sons of Liberty, what a band. Now for a complete change of gear. Yeah, this is from the Tea Rooms of Mars to the Hellholes of Uranus, Fana, by Landscape from 1981. There's the front. There's the back. Pull this out. Picture a landscape there. There's the basically the credits, tells you who's in the band, and yeah, screams by Mary Beard. What, the TV chef? I wonder. Yeah, good. But anyway, Landscape, they were an art punk band. Came out late 70s, and a band that were always trying to be very experimental. Along with bands like OMD, again another band that started out as a punky band that kind of found the glories of kind of early synthesizers and the electronica. Landscape did the same thing and began to develop a lot of tech that we now take for granted, including things like wind synths and you know, synth drums, etc. You know, I remember seeing back in the day when this album came out, seeing a documentary on something like the South Bank show where I forget which one of them it was, but they're talking about how he can rig his trumpet up to give a signal source to a synthesizer. You know, this is very, very early days of digital music. You know, I'll go as far as to say that Landscape were pioneers of the genre. I'm not saying the pioneers, but one of the bands, along with bands like Kraftwerk, that were really exploring all this new kind of synthesizer technology. You know, I know it pissed a lot of the rockers off, a lot of the punks off, but you know, even back then, although I was kind of, would go around with my mates and go, oh, synthesizer's part of shit. You know, I'll go home and track this album out and play it because, well, I liked it. This is probably their best known album because this has their two big hit singles. The famous one is Einsteiner Go Go, which I believe was a year before the album. I think that was 1980. I've got it on 7-inch. And then you've got the follow-up single, Norman Bates, which is my favourite cut on the album. My name is Norman Bates, I'm just a normal guy. All kind of psycho. The video for it's a bit of a classic. Norman Bates was a big hit in Europe, not quite so well known in the UK. But overall, you've got, this is a pretty damn fine album. It's got some fantastic soundscapes on it. It doesn't take itself too seriously. But you know, a lot of art rock and art punk and that can disappear off its own backside. These guys don't. These guys keep. Well, as the title cut goes, from the Tea Rooms of Mars to the Hellholes of Uranus. You know, you can tell these guys are kind of got a tongue in their cheek while they're doing their serious music, but keeping themselves like a real man. That title cut's a great 3-piece track. Beguine, Mambo and Tango are the 3 sections for it. Other pieces: Alpine Tragedy, Face of the 80s, European Man, Computer Person, The Doll's House, fine tunes. This should be available on CD and download should you want to check it out. I hastily recommend that you do, because you know, in my opinion, it's not very rock and roll, but it's a fun album, well played, and at the time was at the bleeding edge of music. Landscape, from the tea rooms of Mars to the hellholes of Uranus. For now. Okay, next up we'll have a bit of this. This is Sibuna by Anubis. Hi Pete. There's the front. There's the back. There's the disc. And there's the back of the thing, because it's not shiny. Here you've got an invite to the album launch party, which I didn't get to because it was up in Oswestry rather than somewhere I could get to easily in Bristol, but I've made up for it since. Rest of the band, lyrics, etc. Now, Anubis, gothic prog metal band, so out of the Oswestry area, which is up sort of like West Midlands, sort of like on the Welsh border, towards the Welsh border area. Big heavy budgie connections with this. Pete Williamson, former budgie roadie and a bass tech for Burke Shelley. I think it was bass tech. Pete will correct me if I'm wrong, don't get me wrong. Simon Lees and Pete Hart on guitars, both of which have done time in budgie in the time. Sarah Coburn on vocals, or Sarah Jane as she's better known, on the vocals on this album. Who's the daughter of Pete's daughter. And on here they use it's electronic drums on this, but they not long after this album came out, they did recruit a drummer. Now this lot sent me the album. Now I can't remember whether this lot contacted me. This was the year, when was this? 2007. This was in the very early days of the BCFN Sunday Rock Show. Whether I discovered Lee's and sent them send me a promo request, or they found me as a radio station and sent me the album. That's lost in the history of memory. But you know, this the album came. It was runner-up for the 2007 BCFM Sunday Rock Show Album of the Year award, and it started a kind of friendship that's grown over the years. Through knowing Anubis, I've got to know Pete and his daughter Sarah quite well. Sarah stepped down from the band a little bit later, due to personal reasons, but the band sort of still going. A few years back, Pete severely injured his arm, and which meant that his bass playing is limited. It's the best thing he can do to kind of work his way through a gig every so often. So live performances by Anubis are kind of tend to be kind of one-offs these days rather than ongoing things, but they still do gig occasionally. If you look on this channel somewhere around, there's some footage of our shot with them at the Solar Sphere Festival, which leads me on to another thing that I've kind of got a lot to thank for these. Through knowing Pete, Sarah, and to a lesser extent Simon and the other Andy, I've got involved with the Solar Sphere Festival. They asked Alien Stashed In to play because they wanted sort of spacey type bands. We're called Alien Stashed In, so therefore And Solar Sphere's a kind of musical, kind of an astronomy festival held every year, not this year because it was held online because of COVID, but normally held up at Bothwell's in Mid Wales, and it's kind of, you start off in the daytime, you have lectures about science and astronomy, and you know, some people like Lucy Green, etc., kind of well-known astronomers drop in and say hi. Then tea time, the music starts, and it's music from there through till midnight, and then at midnight the music stops and everyone disappears into a dark field with telescopes and binoculars and drinks in the wonders of nature. And believe me, using some of the telescopes that some of the people at the festival brought with them, and they sort of have a look at this. I've seen some fantastic sights in the night sky, which I wouldn't have done had they not sent me this album. This album's pretty damn good. My favourite cut on here, Angry Dolphins, a fantastic kind of guitar instrumental workout with Simon Lee's, proving what a fantastic guitarist he is. But Little Picture of the Stalked by Sadness is a brilliant track. Masquerade, Magic Carpet. Sarah's vocals are, you know, I can't remember the girl's name, but they remind me of the girl from Nightwish. You know, she's got that quality to her. Your World, Vampire Waltz, great track. Not a dove track on here. Still available online. You may have to sort of like hit Anubis up online or something to find out where you can get a copy, but you know, do yourself a favour. Anubis, Sibuna, great album. There are other ones quite good as well. They did a live album which is equally good as to that. But anyway, I'm not saying this because these guys are friends of mine. I'm saying this because I'm glad these guys are friends of mine, because I'm in awe of this album and the band as musicians. Hope that clears it up. Good stuff. Okay, next up, bit of Blue Oyster Cult. Still waiting for my copy of the new Blue Oyster Cult album to arrive. Hasn't come yet. Delay with postage because of Italy going back into COVID lockdown procedures. So yeah, it's coming from Frontiers Records and Italy direct. So maybe another week or so before I got that. But I thought I need to talk about Blue Oyster Cult because I'm listening to lots of Blue Oyster Cult at the moment. And again, I apologise for the little kiddies playing on the balcony. She's about 3 years old and she likes squealing in delight as she runs up and down. She's a nice kid though, so I'm not going to complain. Anyway, there's the front. This is Imaginos. Again, we're going back to 1988. There's the front. There's the back. I'll pull this out. A load of album notes about each track, telling the story, because this is a big concept work with a convoluted story, which we'll come to in a minute. There's the back sleeve. Again, album credits, etc. And blue vinyl. Yeah, blue vinyl. Don't know if that makes it worth anything more than the black vinyl version, but it does say strictly limited. Didn't know how many was pressed. It was just I grabbed it at the shop when it came out. But anyway, this is a strange album for Blue Oyster Cult. It's a good album. I rate it rather highly, but it didn't start out as a Blue Oyster Cult album. Albert Bouchard, the drummer from Blue Oyster Cult, kind of he kind of left the band an album or two before this. I don't think he's on Club Ninja. I think his last album he plays on was Fire of Unknown Origin, if I remember rightly. He quit the band, started working on a solo album, Imaginos, which, working along with Sandy Pearlman, the producer, was going to be the album that was going to tie all the Blue Oyster Cult mythos together, because there's ongoing themes that run through Blue Oyster Cult albums, both lyrically and musically. It was going to put it all together onto this solo album of his, because apparently the whole Blue Oyster Cult concept was a collaboration between Albert Bouchard and Sandy Pearlman, or so we've been led to believe. However, a couple of years later, this album's laying kind of nowhere near finished. Blue Oyster Cult are looking for a new project. They want something to kind of revitalise the albums after the Club Ninja album was a little bit panned in the press. So, unreliably so, according to pardon me, I've reviewed it on an earlier edition of this show. Good album, but, you know, the press didn't like it that much. So, by fair means or foul, Oyster Cult hijacked Albert Bouchard's solo album and finished it as Imaginos as a full-blown Blue Oyster Cult album. Although, to be fair, they do give Albert Bouchard a full band member credits on here, even though most of the drums are played by Tommy Price. Yeah. Makes for an interesting listen. It's a good album, don't get me wrong, there's some fantastic performances on there. And it does kind of, lyrically and musically, tie up a lot of the loose Blue Oyster Cult ends. You got the, oh God, where do I start? You got a carnival called The Siege and Investiture of Baron von Frankenstein's castle at Westeria. Now, on there you got what they call the Guitar Orchestra of the State of Imaginos, which includes Robbie Krieger from The Doors, Joe Satriani, Aldo Nova, Jack Rigg, Mark Billman, Kevin Carlson, and as well as what's his name, Donald Rosser and Albert Bouchard as well, chipping in a bit of guitar work on that track. Fantastic kind of, it's like a guitar orchestra. Everyone whittling and soloing all over the place. Fantastic piece, soundscape it makes. It's straight, you got cuts like Del Rio's song, which is almost like a sea shanty. Oh, Del Rio song. A rather interesting re-recording of Astronomy, which doesn't add anything to the original Secret Treaties version, but on the other hand doesn't take anything away either. It just kind of takes it in a different direction slightly, with a fantastic mob air punchy chorus and a bit heavier as well, and some more kind of not interesting kind of pick delay guitar work on it. You got a cut called Blue Oyster Cult. We understand Blue Oyster Cult. Yeah, it's a complicated album. It doesn't make for the easiest of listens, but it's a very rewarding one if you do. I saw him on the tour for this album. Fantastic performance, and no sign of Albert Bouchard on that one. It was back to Tommy Price on drums. But overall, pretty good album. Again, like most of the Blue Oyster Cult stuff, it's available in the back catalogue. You can get your hands on a copy pretty easily. You know, not one I would start with if you get into Blue Oyster Cult, but one that I recommend you should add to your collection at some point. Yeah, Blue Oyster Cult Imaginos, 1988. 88. Cracking record. Okay, this is interesting. There's the front. There's the back. There's the label. Deluded by Lesbians, the Revolution of the Species. And if I pull this out, here we go. So there's the front, there's the back. The cover's got a bit tucked underneath. I should have to go and correct that in a minute. Yeah, Deluded by Lesbians, an incredibly and absolutely ignorant rock and roll band. The Revolution of the Species, and there's Laura O'Clock, lovely geezer, really nice guy. Yeah, so the three-piece Italian punk band. I think they're out of Milan. I'm not sure. I may be wrong. I want to say Milan. Well, it could be somewhere like Turin. Let's see where it says. Recorded in Milan. I think that they record local. These guys are a band that no one should take seriously. Primarily because these guys don't take themselves seriously. They're not exactly a comedy band, although they're funny, and intentionally so. They're just kind of got a kind of twisted sense of humour. I don't know whether it's an Italian sense. Yeah, come across quite a few Italians with a similar kind of, a very Italian sense of humour, I'd say, if that makes sense, because you know, I think it does. Oh, and in here as well, I've got the new model label, which is the label this one's out on, the English version press release. Overall a punk band, although their style they do like to mix up the styles. You do get kind of rock and roll numbers and a little bit of hard rock thrown in, and you know, amongst the other kind of general fun music. It makes for just pretty good listening overall. I've got a couple of other albums by these guys, and you know, they keep up the quality. But this is their debut from 2010. Again, an album of the year kind of highly rated album. A lot of the judges love this one. You got the just cuts like Ringo Starr, where he's talking about he wants to be Ringo Starr. Don't do much in the Beatles, but I'm famous because of it. Don't Laugh at Me Argentina, which is a little kind of insight at musicals, etc. Pompeii, well, everyone knows what happened at Pompeii. Love is Blind. United States of Delusion. Sing with us if you are lesbian. Sing with us if you are not. Sing with us if you're deluded. And just a kind of big, kind of air punchy, lighter waving, punky anthem. Come On Get In, Crystal Balls, Bird Watching, which is a interesting little kind of softer track, Bird Watching. But overall, just absolutely storming album, good fun to listen to. Never met the guys in the face, but I've got to know quite a few of them. I've got to know them, including especially Laura on Facebook. We chat a fair bit. Just a brilliant band, brilliant album. Got released 2010 on the new model label. Should still be able to get it. I think it's still on their catalogue. Highly recommend that you give this band an explore. And Felicitar, their latest, their more recent album, is also damn fine listen, but I'll deal with that one when I get around to reviewing it. So yeah, Revolution of the Species by Deluded by Lesbians. Great album. Leads us up to the final one for today. If I can get this back in there. Here we go. Come and Get It by Whitesnake. Signed by Mickey Moody. Woo and yay. I said this before on here, and I'll say it again every time a Whitesnake album comes up. I love Whitesnake, or rather, I loved Whitesnake. You know, up until 1984-85, this band could do no wrong as far as I was concerned. Fantastic blues rock outfit. David Coverdale's vocals, the twin guitar and Mickey Moody, Bernie Marsden, John Lord's fantastically majestic keyboard playing, and the rhythm section of Neil Murray, Ian Pace. All elements that came together to make the fantastic Whitesnake. Then Coverdale broke the band up, relocated to the States, recruited a poodle-haired heavy metal band, which they're okay, but they're not Whitesnake, and I refuse to call them Whitesnake. I have some of the kind of post-decent, some post-Whitesnake, and you know, I only keep it in the racks to remind me of how bad this band's become. But anyway, this is the proper Whitesnake at their height. So there's the front, there's the back. Yes, lyrics on here and a few pictures. Yeah, one of these Whitesnake albums I've still got the original merch sheet in, but it's not in this one. Is it in there? Oh yes it is. Here we go. I mentioned this before. In the days before the internet, if you wanted to show up at the tour for the album with a relevant album tour shirt on, you could buy them in advance via these merch sheets that came with the record. And there's the one for this one. T-shirts, hoodies, button badges, studded Whitesnake wristbands, so on patches for your denim jackets, sweatshirts, Whitesnake leather belt, great stuff. Anyway, Whitesnake at their height, my favourite Whitesnake album, possibly, although, you know, Love Hunter and Ready and Willing are pretty damn good as well. Just a great one. From the opening cut, Come and Get It, right through to the lighter waving sort of anthem Until the Day I Die at the end. Just track after track after track of bluesy, rocky goodness. I'm looking at this trying to pick a highlight. Would I Lie to You was a single off it. David Coverdale's answer to I think it was an NME journalist that was giving him an hard time at the time. Would I Lie to You to Get Into Your Pants? Yeah, I don't think so. Then you got Wine, Women and Song, a real rock and roller. Child of Babylon, which is a beautiful it's a rocker, but it's a kind of soft rocker. It's kind of considered, it's well paced. Hot Stuff, Girl, Hit and Run. Not a Duff track on here, to be honest with you. There's some the guitar interplay between Mickey Moody and Bernie Marsden is superb, especially on Lonely Days, Lonely Nights. There's some beautiful slide work on there. As you can expect, the rest of the band are on fine form. There's some fantastic John Lord, both on the Hammond and on the tinkly electric piano. Overall, just really, really good stuff. Yeah, even Coverdale's vocals. I've got to admit, Coverdale's not my favourite vocalist, but even here is in fine form, and yeah, which is great. Just a shame what happened to the band. So this was in 1981, I think. Yeah, 1981. Just a shame what happened to the band a few years later, but hey, I can still treasure these old albums and love them. So if you want proper Whitesnake, you know, don't get anything they released after 1984, and this is a good place to start as any. Brilliant album that should be in everyone's collection. Whitesnake, come and get it. Oh well, time to go. I want to say a big thanks for everyone for listening. Really do appreciate your viewing time. And remember, if you want to give me feedback on these, or agree with me or disagree with me, you know, give me your personal experiences of each album, and or you know, other things that maybe makes things you want me to have a look at and review. Comments and that are down there on YouTube. Going to be over there on Facebook. Yeah, if you on Facebook, if on YouTube, like and subscribe. It does help kind of get the word out. As I keep saying, I don't doing this for the money and the fame. I'm just doing it to spread my love of music, and the more people I can tell about great music, the better. Yeah, so, and I'll put the links to the radio shows if you want to check them out. Again, down there and over there, depending on YouTube or Facebook. So that's it for this week. Until next week, Pete's. Loves every single last ones of you. Keep rock and rolling, and I'm out of here. Bye.